Hello everyone, my name is Moritz, co-founder of Naya and responsible for all of our technical development and product ideation.
Hey there, my name is Nicholas. I'm the second of the three co-founders of Naya and I'm responsible for all the marketing related activities at Naya.
Together we've built Naya Create, the ultimate modular keyboard, meant to bring more productivity and efficiency to all of the professionals who use it. And of course, staying healthy in doing so.
As we're currently heading to the market, after 3 years of development, we're very excited to today take you on the first product walkthrough of Naya Create. So, what we have here is the first production sample of Naya Create, really the all-in-one modular split and so much more keyboard that we'll walk you through today.
Nearly 3 years ago, we started with a problem that in many workflows we would not be able to either be as efficient or as ergonomic as we would have wanted to be. We found out that basically whenever we switched to an ergonomic keyboard, it would make us less effective at our tasks. Well, we also needed additional tools that would become more difficult to arrange on our desks. We found out that we switched between these devices more than they actually help us. So that needed to change. So we wanted to have one device built around a modular base, sitting right between your index finger and thumb, and then expanding from there into a full keyboard to give you all of the features right at home row that you need to get through your daily work.
And now for a first look.
Naya Create comes inside an environmentally friendly corrugated cardboard box. On the smaller side component, you can find all of your modules as well as key switches, individually packaged, customized to your order, inside of wet press paper. For example, the touch module, tune module, as well as track module, and in the future also float. On the main compartment, on the top you have a spacer that will include any additional keycaps you have ordered and explains on the back side where those keycaps go.
Underneath that, of course, we'll have your Naya Create halves in a compact travel case. On the lid of the packaging, you'll find a quick start guide with 3 simple steps. We have a first step of connecting your keyboard halves with a USB-C Y splitter cable. In the second step, the toggle on of each of the halves on the Naya Create. And in the third step, a QR code to the user manuals.
Next, let's unbox our 3 different modules. First, we have track, our iteration of a trackball that comes with 4 additional buttons, giving you mousing control, mouse buttons, as well as a switch between a scrolling mode and regular operation. It attaches magnetically to the board and is fully wirelessly chargeable.
Then, second, we have Naya Touch. Naya Touch is your familiar touchpad that can be used for anything such as your regular mousing, but also for any gestures you might want to have.
And last, but certainly not least, Tune, our haptically adjustable dial that gives you full control over the force and step size of every single tick you can get on this ring. In addition, it has a gesture pad up top, surrounded by an LED ring, allowing you for layer control and much more.
Next to providing optimal ergonomics, efficiency is really the key feature of Naya Create. And next to the thumb cluster that you have for additional keys for your thumbs, there's of course the modules. The modules that are situated right between your thumb and your index fingers. The fingers that on our smartphones we use all the time, but our thumbs at the keyboard, for example, use for almost nothing. Now giving them a whole new set of input possibilities. Because depending on your workflow, if you're a software developer, if you're in audio visuals or in 3D, you'll have all sorts of different peripherals. You'll have your 3D navigator, you'll have your control dials, and across all of these peripherals we switch thousands of times per day. So what we did is we integrated these different input devices right between the thumb and the index finger. We have the trackball, as mentioned before, which is for cursor control, and the touchpad also for cursor control and gestures, which means now for any keyboard or cursor control task, I never have to leave home row anymore. And then, let's say I work in anything 2D or audio-visual workflows, I can just easily switch to Naya Team and have the dial right at my fingertips. All together, meaning I never have to leave home row anymore again for whatever workflow I do, making me as efficient as possible.
Let's next talk a little bit more about the ergonomics. There are 3 features I want to highlight. First, when you have a regular keyboard, your hands are close together, causing your wrists to deviate outward. As you split the keyboard and move it to shoulder width, your hands become straight, in line with your elbows and your wrists, causing your wrists to not be deviated outward. Secondly, let's talk about the low profile of the board. The board has a total height of only 15 mm on the typing area, making it extremely low profile. Not only does that mean that we do not require a wrist pad, but also that your wrist stays on low extension, even for extended typing sessions. Last but not least, when you can tent the entire board outward, with the wing folding upward and the modular dock folding downward. This allows your hand to be in a slightly outward rotated position, preventing wrist pronation. Due to the wing tenting upward, you also retain the low profile of the board, allowing your wrist to rest comfortably. Let's jump into an overview of Naya Flow, our custom software. Let's begin with a short overview over the entire software and where you can find what. In the top left corner, you find the different screens, from the bindings, colors, modules, macros, and layer management. We will go through these one by one. Let's start with where you probably will spend most of your time, the bindings. On this screen, you can find various different segments. Let's break those down. On the top right corner, you see a visualization of the entire keyboard with every single key, as well as in the middle, the individual modules and each side left and right of it. An arrow indicating which one is currently being mapped. Below the keyboard visualization, you find our action palette. Inside the action palette, you have a variety of different screens that allow you to assign various different items through drag and drop to the individual keys. I spend a lot of my time in CAD, in computer-aided design, 3D modeling different parts. In this workflow, I use the delete key a lot because I make mistakes. So, in this layout, or in any common keyboard, the delete key is really far away. It's on the top right corner above your keyboard. I like to have it closer, so let's assign the delete key. Now, each key can have multiple different features and not just one. For that, we have various options. First, we can enable the expert mode on a key, which allows you to tap or hold or double tap or tap and hold a key and assign up to 4 different features to that key directly, differentiating them by how you activate the key. But it doesn't end there. If we go to the top left segment of our screen, we find the individual profile and layer management. A layer is something you can imagine like pressing Shift and your keys becoming capitalized, or the options and control keys allowing you to address different features. But here, we can go way further than that. We can assign anything to those second layers. For example, we can make an entire numpad or arrow key set on top of the additional layer just by pressing one of those layer keys. Or we can assign a layer of special keys. But first we need to find a way to address that layer. So let's go back to our base layer. In our action palette on the bottom right, we can jump to our layer segment where we can choose how we wish to address that layer, and then via drag and drop, put that onto any of our keys and assign it that way. Once that key is pressed in that specific manner, it changes to that layer in the specified way. Next, let's go to our colors. Because of course we want colors. They not only make your board pretty and bright, but they also allow you to get some critical information. For example, in what layer you are, or which keys are even assigned in this layer, i.e. where are your arrow keys exactly when you remember that that is your arrow layer. For that, you can press any of the colors, color in any of the additional keys. In the future, there will be way more effects and different visualizations that you can assign here, but for now, we will just go with plain colors. Of course, you can do all of this on the top left side, again, through each layer, where you can change what color you want on which layer. In our module screen, you can create entire configurations. These configurations will afterwards show up in your action palette to be assigned to a module. That means that for each layer that you jump to, you can also assign a new module configuration. For each module, in here you can find various different options, and I encourage you to play around a little bit with it. You can assign what every key does, what the rotation of a trackball does, which gestures you wish to assign to your trackpad. But let's take a closer look at Tune, where you have by far the most options. First, we have, of course, all of the different gestures on the top gesture pad. From 1 finger, 2 fingers, and 3 fingers, tabs, double tabs, verticals, horizontals, pitch and spread, and so much more. But we also, of course, have the programmability of the crown. If we switch to the settings at the top, we can find all of the individual items we can configure just to get the exact right resistance for what we wish to do. When scrolling through a video timeline, you might want low resistance and quickly go through the entire thing. But sometimes you might want to go exactly frame by frame. So you change the speed, you change how you scroll, you change your double tap, just to make sure that you have exactly the right feel for the task you want to do. Let's next jump over to our macro keys. On our macro screen, you can create additional items for your action palette in exactly the same way that you can for the module configurations. These will then show up in your action palette to be assigned to any key that you wish to execute that macro. We have one macro in here already, which is absolutely fantastic. By pressing this macro, assigned to any key, you will execute exactly the sequence of presses that is scheduled to the right. You can adjust their delays, you can adjust when they are actuated, or in which order they are done. You can also in the future record your key presses on the keyboard directly to create those macros more easily. Last but not least, with all of those individual items and layers that we have just now created, we need a way to manage those. On the last screen, we have layer management. As you go through various different programs and layers, you can adjust when which layer is triggered, how you want to arrange them, and what you want to have to trigger them. For that, we have both basic as well as dynamic layers, which you can find on the top left. And those can have various activation conditions, such as when you open one of your professional programs, be that Photoshop or a 3D editing program. With that, you have a basic overview of how most of our programs work. So let's quickly jump back to our key binding layer to give you one last look at how everything will work. On the bottom right in the action palette, you find all of those features you have created throughout our walkthrough in the various different menus. Those will include basic keys, but also more advanced features, and also your custom features. And in here, you can modify to your heart's content until you have everything that you need to make yourself as efficient as you can possibly be in your work.
Alright, so let's get started with actually using Naya Create and setting it up. First of all, we'll be grabbing the white splitter cable, attach the short ends to each half of the Naya Create and the long end to my MacBook. And then, of course, in this case, I already have my modules slotted in, the touch and the tune module, and then on the sides we have these little slider buttons to turn on each of the two halves of Naya Create. Here we go, and now we are already connected to my MacBook. Now next I also want to get a Bluetooth connection, as well as connection set up. So I'll open my Bluetooth settings on my machine, and I'll be looking for Naya Create. I will have that down here. So I'll wait for that connection to set up, and now we can test that. Remove the USB-C cable, and perfect. We are set up and have the software running. So Naya Create can connect with up to 5 different Bluetooth devices at a time. Right now, my Naya Create is connected just to my Mac, which sits on the Naya and 1 Bluetooth slot. So the Naya key here toggles to the second layer, and the 1 allows me to change which Bluetooth device I want to be connected with. In order to get started with your Naya Create and your Naya Flow software, let's take a quick look at the installation. For that, we will be visiting naya.tech/pages/get-started, and there you'll have the option to download Naya Flow either for Windows or for Apple Silicon at the moment. At the bottom of the page, you'll also find the different user manuals for Naya Create, Naya Touch, Track, and Tune. In my case, I'm working on a Mac machine, so I'll be downloading Naya Flow for Apple Silicon.
Let me give you a quick introduction of how switches and caps are exchanged on Naya Create. The entire keyboard is fully hot swappable, and with the exception of these 2 keys, all of the other keys do not have any stabilizers that you have to take care of. To remove a cap, simply hook the tool under the cap, hold down the board, and pull up. On the inside, you will find a small indicator of where the specific switch belongs, and you can find a legend that will help you align all of the switches correctly on the back side of the tray that your keycaps are delivered in. To exchange this key switch itself, you hook the other side of the tool into the small pockets next to the switch, clamp them down, and pull out the switch. On the underside of the switch, you will find various different pins. Always ensure when you're seating a switch that the pins are perfectly straight. Let's exchange the switch with one that you have either ordered of a different variant or a replacement switch that came with your board. To place the new switch, make sure the light box points upward and the small extension of the switch points down. Place the switch over the cutout, make sure it is perfectly aligned with its cutout, and then simply press it into place until it locks. Once you hear a locking click, you can take the cap again, put the cap in place, and push it down. Your switch is already replaced, and you can keep going. Thank you all for supporting this project up to this point. We know there is still a lot to do, but we're looking forward to all of you receiving your boards and to the future together.
Your support really means a lot to us, so thanks all. We keep on working hard and are excited to continue creating the best keyboards out there.